Hey friends, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making Kaiser rolls. I have never had a Kaiser roll, but I've got some poppy seeds to use up and apparently they go on the top. The rolls also look light and fluffy and great for sandwiches, so why not? Let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is put 5 cups of bread flour into a stand mixer and add yeast and salt. I know that is a ton of flour, but this recipe also makes 12 very large rolls. Mix the dry ingredients together on a low speed. Next, fill a large measuring cup with 2 cups of room temperature water. Whisk in sugar, a few tablespoons of vegetable or any neutral tasting oil, and a large egg. Jacques Pepin has turned me into a cracks her eggs on the counter kind of girl. It works for me, but depending on the egg and the counter, sometimes I can have a little trouble. Y'all know I was thrilled when this went smoothly, right? Anyway, keep stirring till they're well mixed together. Then add the wet ingredients to the dry, a little at a time, and stir everything on low, increasing the speed as the dough comes together. My dough seemed incredibly wet, so I added flour a teaspoon at a time to balance things out. Scrape down the sides of the bowl as necessary, and if you want to add flour, take it a spoonful at a time. What you want to see is the dough clear the sides of the bowl, but stay sticky on the bottom. As you can see, that is still not happening for me, so I kept adding flour a teaspoon at a time. It felt like forever, but I've gotten in trouble from impatiently dumping in quarter cups at a time, so if this is you, just stick with it. I did freak out a little because it seemed so much harder than it should have been, and I thought I was about to ruin the whole batch, but I was committed, so I kept going. After about 12 minutes, the dough looked the way the recipe described, so I emptied it onto the counter, and that's what you'll do too. Make sure the counter is well floured and dust your hands for good measure. Knead the dough by hand for about 30 seconds. It should feel wonderful, soft and pillowy. When it's like this, I always end up kneading for longer than I should. Once the kneading is done, turn the dough around in an oiled bowl so that it gets a thin layer of protection. Then cover the bowl with a tea towel. Let the dough rest until it doubles in size, about an hour to an hour and a half. Deflate the dough and press it out onto the counter into a large rectangle. About 12 by 6 inches is a good size, although this definitely looks longer than that. Next, use a pizza cutter to slice the dough into 12 even pieces. If you don't have a pizza cutter, a butcher's knife would work too. When that's done, take a strip and drape it into a U shape in front of you. Tie the two ends together into a knot like you're going to tie your shoes. Fold one of the tails over the knot and the other tail under so they meet in the middle in front of the knot. Press the ends together and place on a parchment-lined cookie sheet. Don't use foil. I tried that, it did not work out well. Just lightly grease your tin if you have no parchment. Repeat the knotting process with all of your strips. It might feel awkward at first, but you'll get the hang of it, just like I did here. Some of these look hideous, I'm shame y'all, but there are a couple that aren't bad. Let the rolls rest to double in size, 30 minutes to an hour. That also improves their appearance, slightly. When they're looking plump, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Brush the knots gently with an egg wash and sprinkle generously with poppy seeds. Or not so generously. Or don't use poppy seeds at all. They're your rolls. Bake the rolls for 30 to 35 minutes in the oven until golden. So I filmed an outro that, in hindsight, now that I'm editing, doesn't adequately explain what happened with the rolls. They look nice and the flavor was good, slightly tangy, but the texture was dry and a little hard. I think if I hadn't added so much flour, it ended up being almost a third cup. Or if I started with less water, the finished bread would have been lighter. Anyway, now that I've had a bite of the roll plain, on to the sandwich taste test. Here's what the roll looks like on the inside, and I'm putting it into the toaster for my egg sandwich with spinach, tomato, and a smear of roasted garlic. It's a really good sandwich. There's not a whole lot of fat in the dough, which is why they were kind of sticky, and which is why the texture is really light the way that it is, and so it would dry out a lot faster. And I think that's why next time I can bake it for a little bit less. But I do love the flavor, and the sandwich, all the components come together really nicely. So there's the hint of garlic. The eggs are really light and fluffy. I could taste the drizzle of olive oil that I put on there. The tomato is juicy and crunchy. I love tomatoes. And the spinach, you know, just rounding it all out. So this is gonna be my lunch. It's a good lunch. And I hope you enjoyed watching. I will put up the video and, well, obviously I'll put up the video. I will put up notes about this recipe and steps with my observations so that you can give it a try if you would like yourself, and let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if there's a bread that you'd like me to try, and I'll see you later. Bye!